Hello and welcome in. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. Become a diehard. Go PHNX.com. Pick up a free hat and or shirt. Every year you are a diehard. I'm diehard for this man, my co-host, Mr. Brack. Live and in living color, I'm Johnny Venerable. We got Shane Dieffenbach, sans Damon Dog today behind the microphone. We're going to get to Shane later in the show. But, you know, it feels like first time we can maybe take a breath as it relates to post-draft. And now, okay, real tangible football bowl on the horizon.
Yeah, it's close, right? I mean, we've got rookie mini camp starting at the end of the week. And then we got OTAs mandatory about a month and a half away from today. So not expecting any kind of drama as far as this offseason, the OTAs go. Just, you know, Monti Ossenfort, Jonathan Gannon, this little thing they've built, people getting together, getting ready for a big 2024 season.
Fired up. This time last year, people were talking about, is this the worst team in the NFL? Could this team go winless? It's crazy what a year does. And Monti Ossenfort made the rounds on some of the national outlets. He talked to Dave Pasch. He talked to Rich Eisen. I want to get to some of his quotes, but, you know, it's a big week. Schedule release potentially is on Thursday. So we'll have live coverage of that if and when that goes live at any point in the evening. And then, of course, Friday is all about Marvin Harrison Jr. It's his first time on the field, you know, with the team, maybe sans a number. We're going to talk about that. But it really does feel like the energy around this team, thankfully, for the first time in a long time, Bo, is about the play on the field. It's about not the off-the-field concerns about Michael Bidwell, about Steve Keim. It's about, hey, this team, this product is going to be worthwhile, potentially playoff worthy. And it's great that external media, other people are finally discovering that and saying, hey, the Cardinals roster is pretty interesting.
Right. It's interesting. The roster can now match the leadership, right? That they had to get correct last January and early February, because before that it was a rudderless ship and they had people in place that were not good at their jobs. There's a head coach that was overmatched and a GM that was in a spot for 10 years that, you know, you could make the argument all along the way, outside of maybe the Bruce Arians era, had no business running an NFL team, right? And now with Monti Ossenfort, I think a lot of people could say he's 2 for 2 as far as adding talent through the NFL draft. Now, remains to be seen as far as, you know, how those players look beyond in shorts the next couple of weeks in training camp. But it really feels like Monti Ossenfort really has a good sense of how to build a team. He certainly showed the ability to tear down a team. And that's easier said than done, but he did it to perfection and set himself up for success this offseason. And then Jonathan Gannon answered some of the questions that a lot of people had about him this season that he could answer with the lack of talent on his roster, but getting the competitiveness each weekend and week out. Of course, having a franchise quarterback in tow certainly helps him going forward. But I think now that you have the leadership that's getting matched with the talent, people are really pumped about this organization.
Drop a like on this video. Subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. Hoping for 300 likes here on a Football Monday. Bees in the chat emphasizing this. The feel of dread is gone now with Monti as the GM. Let's get to some of these Monti Ossenfort quotes. I'll start first with his time on Dave Pasch's podcast, which just dropped earlier today. Ossenfort claims, Bo, there was nothing close that got us from moving to pick 4. So a nice little blurb with Pasch. He emphasizes that the minute that Marvin Harrison Jr.'s top 30 visit was done, they had made a conscious decision. We feel comfortable taking this player 4th overall. And then it really became, let's field the offers and let's reassess. But if, you know, we'll maybe never get an honest answer, but the Cardinals turned their pick in fairly quickly. The folks in Vegas, we remember watching it that entire evening. The line, minus 200, 300, 400 with our friends at BetMGM. Like, it just kept getting higher. It had gotten out there. that Marvin was going to be the pick. I wonder that week leading up to it, like the Cardinals maybe put a line in the sand. We're going to take Marvin. We have to be blown away. And it doesn't sound like anybody came close to doing that.
Yeah, let me answer this in the chat real quick, Cardi B. I don't have anything on my chin except for a distinguished white hair. Trimmed down my beard, and you can see it. It's not hidden by the Just for Men. No, I don't color my beard. But no, I mean, there wasn't as far as he did allude to, if Drake May were to be available, that maybe there was going to be more interest, more legit interest in coming up to 4.
Yeah.
But I think Monti Ossenfort was realistic as far as who was willing to pay what, and that they were very well more than content in taking their guy, Marvin Harrison Jr., 4th overall. And it's interesting that the top 30 visit was the one. But Jonathan Gannon said this, dropped this little nugget in the pre-draft press conference, that they have a very specific plan for these guys when they come into town and they visit the facility on the top 30, and they put them through a lot. And he loves to see it. And it's a very, if they hadn't vetted the prospect to that point yet, they get everything they feel like they need is necessary to kind of put the finishing touches on their scouting of that prospect. And also Monty, I think when he joined NFL Network Radio a couple weeks ago, he confirmed Darius Robinson was a top 30 visit guy. So we didn't have that earlier report.
Well, hang on a second, because he tells Pash the opposite.
Really?
So I don't know if they got that wrong. He told Dave Pash specifically that they got enough out of Robinson at the Senior Bowl that they felt like they didn't need to use a top 30 visit. They basically liked Darius enough. It's like, we know everything we need to know. So maybe it was a little bit of his pro day mixed in, and they NFL radio flubbed that up. But
no, he was on doing an interview with them, and he specifically said had him in for a top 30.
Maybe they're playing both sides of the chip. I don't know. That's interesting. Let me ask you this though, because I thought this was really interesting. Pash specifically, or excuse me, Rich Eisen asked Ossenfort if, and like surface level, this is a crazy thing to ask, if it made a difference or not. But then you go back and you look at some of the tweets, and I did. If that Marvin Harrison Jr.'s performance at CJ Stroud's pro day made a difference, and Ossenfort said yes, that they were at his pro day last year. And I remember there was a tweet, of course, from Ohio State alum and homer Albert Breer, basically like, yeah, Stroud had a good pro day. Everybody talked about MHJ.
Yeah.
And it's like, we know the Cardinals knew of MHJ at that point. It'd be ridiculous not to. But like, it almost felt like Ossenfort's living at Dave Sears' home last year. Did not have his own home. His family was commuting. They hadn't settled in Arizona. Ossenfort goes to Ohio State pro day to scout Paris Johnson Jr., who they'd inevitably take in that draft. And there's Marvin balling out. You talk about a firsthand, impression for Ossenfort. A year later, it made a difference. It wasn't the icing on the cake, but it certainly got the ball rolling where he commits to Eisen that, like, we have been looking at him for over a year, and it really started that day at the pro day. That's wild to me. We'll never see that again.
No, I don't think we will. I mean, as far as prospects and guys who kind of own those positions for the next couple of years,
yeah,
and solidifying themselves as a top 5 pick, probably like the year before he goes in the top 5, right? And I remember that, just like you said. I mean, it was everybody was having a good, and it was a good crop of prospects coming out of Ohio State. It wasn't so much this year, and the guy that stood out the most was the guy who wasn't even going to the draft that year. It was Marvin Harrison Jr. And it's kind of like the Jonathan Gannon stuff, right? I mean, Monti Ossenfort identified Jonathan Gannon the previous offseason as his coaching candidate. So, like, yeah, these are guys who are so prepared for when, like, the day comes that they have every stone unturned. Like, of course, like, they have their eye on the future and they're prepared for it. It's not like, hey, we're just going to kind of go by the seat of our pants from year to year, like the previous regime did. It's like, no, hey, remember that ass kicker from Ohio State Pro Day? Yeah, we're going to be in a prime position potentially to get him. We need to do all the homework we potentially need to make sure he's the guy when we're on the clock.
Yeah, it just goes to show you, like, this this regime at the end of the day vetted every option possible. We know that over the course of this offseason, and inevitably made the right decision. And I think that, we previewed it for 2.5 months after the Vikings made that trade, or 6 weeks or whatever it was. And that was the first time where fans, because I think free agency went about according to plan. Maybe not everybody was pleased, but the Cardinals were very active. They added one of the premier offensive linemen in Jonah Williams. They got some depth up front. They signed a corner. We saw cracks in the foundation for a lot of people when the Cardinals were entertaining the trade with Minnesota. And I think that if Ossenfort had made that trade down, even if they would have gotten Dallas Turner at 13 and done a bunch of other stuff, there'd be people right now in our chat in the Cardinal community just like, I don't believe in Ossenfort anymore. He made a huge mistake. I will not. And now he's bought himself, I think, infinite leverage, not only with Cardinal fans, with the ownership, Michael Bidwell. Like, I go back to that video where Michael Bidwell is calling Marvin Harrison Jr. and emphasizing how much the fan base wanted him here. Like, Michael's aware of this. He sees all this stuff secondhand. We've seen him in the cafeteria, watching NFL work, watching TV, eating lunch. Like, he has a pulse of what his fan base wants. And so, like, this was, yes, it was the safest pick, but it also made the most sense for everybody. There, again, you and I would sit on the show. 3 first-round picks was a lot, but at the same time, it wasn't going to make 80% of Cardinal fans happy, no matter who the players were that you got.
No, it wouldn't. It would have kind of split this fan base down the middle. I mean, there's people that understand the ability to team build with all that draft capital, but at the same time, it's like some of the points that were made on this podcast, whether it's us or the chat or guests we had, or even from ourselves, like, you gather all that draft capital to at some point put yourself in a position to get a player that you define as generational or has generational prospects. And Marvin Harrison Jr. has that, right? And, the Arizona Cardinals were in a position to just stick and pick and get him, and they didn't have to give up any draft capital in order to do so. They just needed to make the selection, as our guy Shane Dieffenbach is just rolling through our entire, all of our graphics right now.
Yeah.
He's feeling himself.
Drop a like on this video, not a live. Drop a like and get us to 300 likes here on a Football Monday. I want to get to some of these super chats, but before I do, one of the most interesting facets of the interview with Pash for Ossenfort, outside of Marvin, was pick 27 with Darius Robinson. And again, they love Darius Robinson. They met with him multiple times whenever they met with him. And obviously they felt comfortable enough taking him at 27. He would have gone right afterwards. The Cardinals did not entertain trading down from 27. However, and Bo can attest to this, we were live on our draft show, and there was a lot of moving parts, and it was an awesome night. And everybody's feeling the effects, feeling themselves after the MHJ pick. And I get a text message, and it's like, watch what they're about to do. And we kind of got it known that maybe there another move could be happening here, and it never transpired. But Ossenfort alludes to it on Pash's podcast, basically that they had sniffed around an opportunity to move up, but it was inevitably too pricey. And, I was texting with some people before the show today, and like my mind immediately goes to Byron Murphy Jr., same position, the only other first-round DT. And then, Jess Root, who's a friend of this program, threw out Dallas Turner and Jared Verse's options as well. They had a top 30 visit with Dallas Turner. I think it's Byron Murphy, and I have no sources on this, because of the fact that I think with what Minnesota gave up to come up and get Dallas Turner, Cardinals could have beaten that offer pretty easily. Whereas you would have had to jump the Seahawks at 16, a division rival, to come up. That's asking a lot, and the price was going to be a lot. Plus, the Cardinals had more to give in some teams' eyes, but I just found that really fascinating. Like, which defender would they have come up for in the middle of the first round if they hadn't taken Darius at 27, Bo?
Yeah, it really did feel like it was going to be Byron Murphy II, right? I mean, it did, as far as what the Cardinals are looking for, how they want to kind of revamp their defense, the comments from Jonathan Gannon, like, it all replays in your head, like the end of The Usual Suspects. You're starting to put it all together and put together the case, and it feels like it was Murphy. And he goes, at 16 to Seattle? And then, I mean, Minnesota came up from just 23, not 27. It's not 10 spots. I mean, it's closer, but it's not 10 spots to 17. It's from 23 to 17. and they gave up, what, a 5th this year and then a future 3rd and a future 4th?
Yeah, and then you had the Colts at 15. They got Latu, and they were thrilled to get Latu. Remember that? Like, they were excited to get Latu.
We just got the best pass rusher in the draft. That's what Chris Ballard said.
So, like, to come up in front of Seattle to get Indy to pivot off of that would have been a lot. Would have been going from 27 to 15, you're probably giving up pick 35 to do that. Like, unquestionably, you're doing that.
Yeah.
So, the other team would want that. So, again, Latu, Byron Murphy, Dallas Turner, back to back to back, and then Jared Verse 2 picks later at 19. I mean, like, that's when we were kind of clenching on set, like, oh no, it's a premium run on defensive players. Cardinals just were not in a position they wanted him. We saw it. They added picks. They didn't at all. We would have bet anything that they would have moved up at some point in this draft. They added a 3rd rounder. They added a 6th rounder. They moved back twice again. So I'm not surprised that Austin Ford was clutching 35 and saying, you're not getting this. You're not getting our first pick of the 3rd, which ended up being Trey Benson. So it'd be interesting to follow Darius Robinson now compared to Verse, Dallas Turner, and Byron Murphy. I don't think Latu was probably in the discussion. So that big 3, led by Murphy in your own division, it's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, and it's not an indictment on Darius Robinson.
No, absolutely
it's
not.
Just where you look at, I mean, at that going into the Seattle pick, there wasn't any defenders off the board at that.
No, Bo, we thought Turner and Byron Murphy could be top 12 picks. And that's Darius Robinson, as much as I like him, was never thought of as a top 30 or 15 pick.
And then to be able to hold on for dear life and him get to 27, I mean, absolutely. And we echo the comments from Monti Ossenford on Dave Pash's Pash Pod today. So pretty unbelievable job to be able to get a line of scrimmage player, a versatile, violent player like Darius Robinson, who's also going to be making, his debut later this week in rookie minicamp. It's fantastic. It worked out for the Arizona Cardinals. Regardless, they got to keep capital, gain capital instead of having to give up capital. And you look at, I think outside of maybe their 7th round pick, you got guys that have legitimate chances of making an impact somewhere up and down this roster.
Yeah. And I like Dallas, Turner a lot. And I like Byron Murphy a lot. You're not one of those guys away. Like there's a reason those teams that got those players are picking in the teens, and you have a top 10 pick. I mean, it was more valuable for them to take Darius Robinson and Max Melton, and then adding a 3rd that ended up being Tip Raymond instead of just going all in for one singular player. They needed to expand the depth on this team. I want to get some of these super chats. Then I want to talk to you about K1 and his recent antics here in Scottsdale. All good things. Cardi D, friend of the program, $2 super chat. Best thing on Mondays. Couldn't wait. Hashtag Bird Gang. We love you, Cardi D. Appreciate you, my guy.
Absolutely. Love that. Let's keep it going here with the super chats. How about Charlie Sinclair? I thought Bo was at the Met Gala. Yeah, what was going on? Who was our admin today on PHNX Cardinals?
I don't know. It's that meme. It's that meme. We got to find the guy who did this. Absolutely.
I think that picture looked like Tom Brady after the 100th karate instructor joke at his roast last night.
That roast was an all-timer. If we have time, we need to talk about that. It's so good. Thank you, Charlie. Good to see Charlie back. Hopefully Joe Alt's keeping you warm there in Los Angeles there, and you're not too sad about MHJ. Plex, $5. Can we please have a moment of silence for the recent death of pop star Drake? Wow.
Oh, no.
He was ended by I haven't been following this. Kendrick Lamar versus Drake, the rap battle. I don't know. Shane is our resident youth on the program. Usually we refer to Damon on these kind of situations, but Bo and I
think that's why Damon took the day off. He was in mourning. I don't know which side of this he was on.
Somebody can give us just an update here. We're tracking MHJ's jersey more than the back and forth.
Look, I'm knee deep in potty training over at my house. I have no idea what the latest on the rap battle between K-Dot and Drake is.
You're not deep in the rap game? Okay. Everybody knows we
not since East West. Not since those battles.
Easton, $4.99. I expect 7 wins at least this year, and playoffs are definitely realistic. 7 is the floor. 7 would put people up in arms. Like if this team wins, they have too much talent, in my opinion, to go 7-10. Like they're a 6-win team with Kyler Murray last year for 17 games. Like,
yeah.
they have their schedules. I can't emphasize this enough. Infinitely more easier than last year. They played so many playoff teams last year on the road. So I think you're looking at a team across the pond in Seattle to take a step back. You've got teams in your own division now. I think the Niners are vulnerable.
Now you're baiting Shane Dieffenbach to come on the mic.
I definitely am.
Now you're baiting him.
Would 7 wins be disappointing, Bo?
It would, because you think of it now, and of course, back-to-back 4-win seasons. You're like, oh, that's a clear step in the right direction. You're trending in the right direction. But at the same time, like, you have to understand what that's going to look like over a 17-game season to take down 10 more L's. And you look at the talent on this roster, you look at their potential schedule, and what you would have to endure, and how 10 losses, how you would take it, and what would have to go wrong for the team. They just weren't up to snuff defensively. Was there errors made, from the offensive side of the football? Was it coaching? Was it execution wise? I think that's not what this team is looking to navigate, throughout this next season. I think they're ready. They feel like they got enough talent on the roster that they should be able to compete with anybody like they did last year, but be able to have like that next gear to put games away in the second half.
Talent's not an issue, at least offensively. We're going to get to that and what the folks at Pro Football Focus deem for the Arizona Cardinals and what could be a dominant offensive unit. And that, of course,
I think Easton makes a good point here.
Okay.
If Kyler's healthy all year, I mean, that's I think that now becomes the biggest key, don't you? Like,
yeah, you're not making the playoffs with Desmond Ridder. I like as much as I love Marv and James and Trey, I like Desmond Ridder or Clayton Tune, respectfully. Like, you're going to lose those games just in today's NFL. You might win 1 or 2 of them, like the Vikings did last year with Dobbs. But I mean, Kyler Murray plays 17 games this year. I feel you're going to the postseason. You are going to the playoffs. He is putting up over 30 touchdowns, and you're going to be a playoff team. You're going to be you're going to be the 7th, 6th, 5th seed in the NFC. If he gets hurt, it's not only, well, you're going to miss the postseason, it's going to conceivably draw questions about, is he the guy long term? Like, we're going to have those conversations, and it has nothing to do with the person or the player. It's all about sustainability over a 17-game season, which he has not been able to stay healthy for. But by hook or by crook, what have they put in front of him is a more than competent running game, more than adequate weapons. Like, he has the tools now, and he knows it. Like, this is not all on Kyler. This is not a Kyler-driven offense anymore. This is an offense with stability. This is an offense that you would see Brock Purdy operate in. This is an offense that you would see Jared Goff operate in. They're the most important pieces because they're the quarterback, but they're not. This offense is not relying on them to be magicians every Sunday to win football games. Like, go back and look at his statistics against Pittsburgh last year. They won that game. They controlled the line of scrimmage. Somebody tell me what Kyler's stats were. I don't know. They were good, but he didn't need to throw 5 touchdowns for them to win. That's the antithesis now of this offense.
Yeah. I want to answer this question before the end of the show. SB 1993, MHJ win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Let's get into that before the end of the show.
Okay.
Not right now, but definitely want to get into that.
Well, who would be throwing him the football? It's 1K1, and Kyler Murray was recently seen, I think, over the weekend, Bo, and we have video of this. He posted this on his TikTok, working out at what's the high school? Saguaro High School in Scottsdale, and then he going from Michael Wilson throwing passes to some of the workers there at the high school, and K1, extra sweaty, goes up and gets a nice picture with one of the members of the staff there.
Yeah. I'm taking a lot of flack on social media for this because that guy hauled it in. It was a nice catch. He high pointed it. And
let's see that one more time, Shano.
And of course, yeah, look at Brian. The construction workers can catch. Why can't Bo? I had my phone to my ear, man. I had one hand, and Kyler, and I was way closer to Kyler than this guy. So I was probably about 8 to 10 yards away from Kyler. That guy's a solid 20, 25. And he's just dropping in his breadbasket. Well, I'm sitting there on my phone, listening to audio, and Kyler decides to put one hot on me.
The construction workers that are outside in this heat, that they have to wear long sleeves constantly, good hell. That's another story completely, but God bless those people. But yeah, Bo taking notes, according to Chase. It was a smooth catch too. I definitely, if I could catch it, I would double catch it. I would bobble it and then re-catch it if I'm going to catch it at all. But
You're saying that pass is too hot for you to handle?
Yeah. Kyler Murray's pass?
The one he dropped on the construction worker?
He's loose. Like, he's been out there working. Like, I'd be going in cold. I'd be walking out of my car. I'd be tight. Those guys, they got a sweat going. That's a benefit that I'll back you up. You did not have. When you're going from the press room to your 60-second short to seeing K1 trying to catch with one hand, you're in a different mindset. Those guys work in construction now. That's a man's game, and they're loose. Yeah. They're ready to go.
Yeah, that's very it's very kind of you to fall on the sword for me like that.
I appreciate.
I think he'd come up with that.
Harmony saying JV stays tight. I 100%. It takes me infinitely longer to get loose now as a 36-year-old man. Adonis saying I tear my ACL trying to catch it. I'd probably go over the railing. That guy smoothly catches it. I would go over the railing onto the concrete, and they would have to call, special.
The worst part is it went off my chest. I can still kind of feel it now.
Did he make a noise when you dropped it? The day you dropped it?
No. He said, I'm locked in. He said, I'm locked in, and then kind of like walked off. And James Conner's just like shaking his head like, Kyler, why'd you do it to that poor like klutzy reporter? Why'd you do that? Why'd you do that, man, like that?
Somebody get a hold of K1. We need to let Bo redeem himself here. And then at least it wasn't on camera.
True.
That was great. Dude was short.
Or it's on a loop with the security crew at the facility in Tempe, just watching me drop and fumble all my stuff from my hands trying to catch that ball.
Topic 64, front of the program, $4.99. Christian Jones, the 5th rounder out of Texas. Xavier Weaver, Miles Murphy. I'm so stoked about these three. These guys will make the 53. Hopefully, Arias will make it too. The tall, lengthy receiver certainly has an opportunity now. Jones in particular, like, I think we'll know early, can Jones compete physically and mentally with Kelvin Beachum? That swing tackle job, they don't screw around with that. So, these rookies coming up next Friday, it's a big impression because obviously they were drafted to fill needs. A lot of these guys are coming into wide open jobs. Like, there's opportunities at tackle, certainly opportunities at edge rusher and cornerback for a lot of these rookies to come in. Nobody's really going to have the benefit to redshirt, I think. Like, if you can play, you're going to have a role and be active.
Yeah, really, everybody's big on Christian Jones. Baldy gave a pretty good breakdown of him. And, with the depth of the class for him to get to the 5th round, it's pretty unbelievable for the Arizona Cardinals to have an opportunity to bring him in to compete, right?
Yeah.
As far as Weaver, and people ask, why Weaver fell. And I kind of lean on our guys over at, PHNX Sun Devils between Shane and Totri over there, just saying that, Weaver came out of the gates hot. If you remember Colorado when they were on top of the college football world for the few games, right? Albeit against just like Nebraska and TCU, like Weaver was a big reason for that. And then once they kind of made a switch at the OC position, he kind of disappeared and it lacked a little consistency. And like Jones, kind of being a victim of the depth at the tackle position. Weaver, I think, was one at the wide receiver position. And then Miles Murphy, big defensive lineman that now it's a crowded room. There's not a whole lot of bodies or roster spots on the defensive line as there once was. The opportunities, unlike last year where you could have come in and made a roster easily.
We're fired up about this team, the depth offensively. Some folks are not convinced, at least defensively. We're going to talk about that more. But first, I want to tell you about our friends at BetMGM. First bet offer, $1,500. Hell yes. Let's go. I hope you took advantage of the Grand Slam jackpot promotion. It's every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday through the MLB season. If you missed it, guess what? You can continue doing it every weekend through September. It's the Grand Slam jackpot with Major League Baseball. It's a weekly bet and get promotion. All you got to do, place a mere $10 or more on any player to hit a home run every single weekend, Friday through Sunday. If that player not only hits a home run, if they hit a grand slam, you can win $5K daily in prizes or share that prize with any other winning bettor. So if you feel like I'm going to dabble on some MLB action this weekend, I like Corbin Carroll to break out of his slump, and you sprinkle some monies on a home run, and that player hits a grand slam, guess what? You're a big-time winner, but you got to do it with our friends at BetMGM. You got to download the app on your iOS or Android device, or check them out, betmgm.com. And again, If you're not a baseball fan, you want to go a different route, I get you. Sign up and deposit at least $10 into your newly created BetMGM Sportsbook account. Any wager, first wager, doesn't matter what it's on, get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if that loses. That's still around, but you got to use the bonus code PHNX, and you got to dabble with our friends at BetMGM. Check out the show notes for full details. Special day, special boy, Shane Dieffenbach's back to talk about it in the disclaimer.
Bonus bets expire in 7 days. One new customer offer only. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY, 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus only. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only. Subject to eligibility requirements. Bonus bets are non-withdrawable. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. See BetMGM.com for terms. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, North Carolina, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Bonus bets expire in 7 days. One new customer offer only. Gambling problem? Call 1-800.
Got some the Butcher Box chicken breasts marinating right now in my fridge. Can't wait to throw those on the grill. It's going to be unbelievable. Here's the ultimate convenience right here. It's Butcher Box, delivered right to your doorstep. Free shipping always. Curated and customized box plans that are going to be completely up to what you want. Tailor fit to you. Convenience was unmatched as far as I picked. I wanted the beef, I wanted the pork, I wanted the chicken, and I wanted the seafood. And they provided all of that in different little tailored boxes for the Brack family. It could be different for you. You just want all beef, you want chicken, you want all pork, you want some sort of different mix and match. Well, go to butcherbox.com/PHNX. Start to put together your Butcher Box order. It's unbelievable. It's going to save you some money at the register. Going trips, definitely trips to the supermarket. You're going to have less of those with Butcher Box. Go check them out. Butcher Box offering our listeners an amazing offer while supplies last for new users to get free meat plus $20 off your first box. Join by using the link butcherbox.com/PHNX and use the code PHNX to receive an exclusive offer today before time runs out. That's butcherbox.com/PHNX using the code PHNX to get that $20 off your first box by using the link today.
Ricky in the chat. Hi, lads. Hoping Cardinals are announced this week for London or the Munich games. Do the organizations and fans find those games a bit of a drag? I don't. I think they're awesome. I love Ricky waking up early on a Sunday here on Pacific time, Mountain time, and seeing a game that's live at 7 a.m. I think that's the coolest thing. My son and I love to do it. I get to do it then before I get to go in to cover the Cardinals. So I love international games. And so if the Cardinals play in London or Munich this year, it'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I try to put like fantasy football beats like that. I missed putting that guy out of my lineup or in my lineup for the 6 o'clock kickoff, but I'm not going to hold it against that. It is, and also the international incident that was the Rams game in 2017. That was brutal, but I'm not going to let that ruin any, my watching experience. I think at this time, ready for international prime time, the Arizona Cardinals are more prepared for something like that.
Waiting to hear if the Cardinals get a international game. Hoping that'd be awesome. Germany would be awesome. London would be awesome.
I like this from Merv. It was a better drop by eye. Throwing it back to our guy D-Hop. It was a better catch by eye back in the day for the Hail Murray.
Miss you, D-Hop. Sorry you have to be slumming it over there with the Tennessee Titans. If you remember last year, to bring up DeAndre Hopkins, it was one of these shows where Ian Rappaport came out and said, looks like they're just going to keep him. And we're like, hell yeah, I get to watch DeAndre Hopkins play football. And they're like, no, we're actually cutting him 2 weeks later. Thankfully, no shockers or surprisers with the Cardinals this May.
It was like we were just crushing Albert Breer when he suggested like 2 months before they released him that the rest of the league was just kind of waiting around. And that was a potential. We're like, what an idiot. How could this?
Turns out Albert Breer knows his stuff.
Turns out he knows a few things. The Patriots aren't going to trade anything for D-Hop. They're actually waiting to see if he gets released first. And we're like, screw you, Albert Breer. You have no sources. You're a piece of crap. And then next thing you know, I'm driving way too fast on the 60 from the golf tournament to do an emergency pod because the Cardinals released him the day before June 1st.
Yeah, thankfully things have gotten better with the Cardinals and the receiving core. The offense in general, I don't even want to say sneaky a top 10 unit. Like it needs to be a top 10 unit this year, given the opponent and the quality. Speaking of quality, Pro Football Focus released their fantasy football rankings preseason, never too early. And we've compiled a list, Bo, of who ranks where pertaining to their position. Looking at this and looking in particular at the battery of your top 3 to 4 players, there's no reason the Cardinals should not be a top 10 unit in the NFL. The number one player the Arizona Cardinals have in fantasy football PPR this year, it's not Trey McBride, it's not K1, it's not James Conner, sweet baby Marvin Harrison Jr., the 14th ranked. He hasn't played an NFL snap yet. He's already the 14th ranked PPR wide receiver in the NFL. You got to assume that number is only going to go up. But Marvin Harrison Jr., no contract, no jersey number, no NFLPA agreement, number 14.
And that's fine for the rookie, right? But I look at a couple of these other numbers and I'm like, man, it's just straight up disrespectful when you see some of these, like Michael Wilson all the way down at wide receiver 78. And I know like probably him and Kyler are going to be based on if they can stay healthy. But if Wilson stays healthy, I think he ventures into top 50 territory. And I was listening to some fantasy football prognosticators recently and said that his biggest issue with Kyler Murray is that everybody else is under the understanding that Kyler Murray's back. Like as far as fantasy football goes, like he's not a secret any longer. Like you were able to kind of get him, sneak him onto your roster last year. If you were in dynasty leagues, maybe you were able to kind of, keep him. But QB 11, I think he quickly, especially with how he rushes in the red zone in this offense and how he was early on. What do you have? 4 rushing touchdowns last season, just in his sample size. I mean, he's going to be a big time problem right away. And it is if he's not thrown for like 2 to 3 touchdown passes a game, like he's going to be good. Like his floor is so solid in fantasy football because of the rushing stats. Like gets a passing touchdown, gets a rushing touchdown, and eclipses 250 yards passing.
He's right behind Brock Purdy, who's 10th, which makes me physically ill. But Purdy, give him credit, was able to play a complete season last year. Trey McBride, tight end number 4, by far the highest ranked at his position unit, behind number 1, Sam Laporta, which I can't argue is sensational last year. Travis Kelce, who's going to play at least 2 more years, tight end 2. This is the one I have an issue with. Mark Andrews, tight end 3 for the Ravens over Trey McBride, just by a couple spots. McBride 44th overall, Andrews 40th. McBride over George Kittle, though. Don't hate that. Don't hate that one bit. So, again, you look at that group. Can I see it one more time, Shano? Here's the one thing to take away. All of these players, respectfully to James Conner, outside of RB1 James Conner, are ascending upward. And I think they're hedging their bet a little bit with James at RB 24 because of what's happening with Trey Benson. Trey Benson is already, in their eyes, a top 2 back in a rotation in the NFL. He hasn't played yet. 32 teams, everybody's got a number 1 back. You times that by 2, 64. Trey Benson, in their eyes, is a top backup in the NFL and could lurch touchdowns away from James Conner. I think there are people in the fantasy community that think if James Conner is out for 2 to 3 games, he could get Wally Pitt by the Florida State prospect. Now, I don't think that. I think they're going to be respectful to James. He's earned it. Yeah. Austin Ford on Pash's podcast called him basically the MVP of their offense last year, and he was. But you look at Michael Wilson ascending. Greg Dortch is going to get 17 games as a starting slot receiver. Kyler Murray, if he finished 11th, that would be disappointing to some people. If he finished his QB 11th, like they're making the playoffs because he's played a full season like that solidifies him. So I only take away good things from this. I looked at this today and I'm like, PFF offensively is buying the Arizona Cardinals as a big-time offensive team.
Now, you had James Conner's kind of ballpark where he finished last year. Depends on which your scoring is in your leagues, right? Mm-hmm. He's anywhere from like 18 to I think like 22, 23, or 24.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's right there. And a couple, Austin said it, it's injuries. I don't think it's so much a committee. If he does stay healthy, I think Trey Benson could spell him here and there, but I don't view it as a committee just yet. I think that they are going to ride James Conner much like they did last year, much like they did at the end of 2022. I mean, James Conner, this is his team, especially what they like to do offensively. But it's with JC, it's an inevitability that he's going to miss time, and he's going to, it's going to take his numbers down. But still, he did finish pretty high last year as far as his fantasy output went.
I also think there has been no competitor for James Conner for red zone carries before this. You could always write down if he's active. Well, there's nobody else with size. like by hook or by crook. Like I remember one game last year, I think it was the Eagles game. Michael Carter got a couple red zone carries and had a red zone receiving touchdown, right? Nice play, made a guy miss. But like for the most part, they're inside the 10. It's like we got to get James the ball. Kyler's undersized. Our rest of our backs are undersized. This is the first, and if you call him that, a real legitimate threat for somebody to lurch carries away. And those touchdowns are golden. And I love James. But I mean, like last year was his first year over 1,000 yards rushing, which is crazy. It's crazy. You would assume now a lot of those touches, a lot of those yards are going to be spread out to Marvin, to Dortch, to Michael Wilson. So secondary, third tight ends. We mentioned Tip, of course, Elijah Higgybear. So they're going to have more options. So that dilutes it a little bit. But I'm with you. If he stays healthy, he's going to be an option. This is the one concern if you're a Cardinal fan via PFF. They're glowing offensively. They even had a write-up about the Cardinals, a little blurb about they should be an under-the-radar dominant offensive team. You want to take a guess where they rank the Cardinal defense out of 32 teams, fantasy football-wise?
Probably like 28th.
32nd. They have them ranked the last defense fantasy football. Now, that's fantasy. So takeaways and sacks contribute to that. That's not total defense. But, I mean, they're the last ranked defense right behind Washington and then they also have the Rams.
Because Washington added like 87-year-old Bobby Wagner.
The Rams are defense number 32. So Tennessee's 29. The Cardinals are the 32nd ranked defense according to Pro Football Focus. They're barely eligible to be ranked on the scale.
That's tough, man. That's defensive.
I mean, I don't buy much into that, but they don't recognize the players. They don't know the names. So I watched a no-name defense pick off C.J. Stroud.
Well, I mean, you have to produce in fantasy sports-wise. One, keep the opponent off the scoreboard, which they gave up second most points last year.
Fair.
You should be better, right? And you need to rack up some sacks, and they don't do that. They didn't.
Or interceptions.
Right. So they're going to need to have some people emerge. So just based off the statistical data that those fantasy nerds are dealing with, unfortunately, our sweet baby Redbirds are not a hot defensive commodity in the fantasy football land. Now, how do we feel about there being one football? I assume they can only play with one football next season. Trey McBride, Michael Wilson, and Marvin Harrison Jr. How do we see like the hierarchy of playmakers playing out for those who are eyeing some of these guys?
I think early Trey gets a good amount of targets because he was the most consistent pass catcher last year. Then I love Marvin, or I love Michael. He's been on the show twice now. Greg Dortch had a podcast with this company. I think Marvin becomes the immediate 1B to Trey McBride. Like Trey McBride's a Pro Bowl tight end. Trey McBride in an offense that wants to run the football is always open. Whereas we saw with Michael last year, he played well, especially in he cooked Seattle. Go back and look at those highlights. But before that, hadn't had a caught pass in some time. Had a good game against Philadelphia, had a good game against Seattle, on a high note. I think it's Trey and Marvin as your top two guys. I think Marvin comes into this training camp, comes into mini camp, rookie camp, whatever, OTAs, and dominates. I would be surprised if we didn't hear tweets, you're out there, and this guy's mossing people. And it's just going to be too good to ignore. And if it doesn't happen, I'll be disappointed because he hasn't been training for combine workouts and pro days and top 30 visits. He's been training for football. And Sam Monson was on this podcast. Check out the interview my co-host did. It's on our YouTube page. Said this is the closest thing to Calvin Johnson we've seen. So like that's my expectation. I love Greg Dortch and Michael Wilson. Like they understand what's entering the room.
Right. It's not going to be somebody who's just going to be like unprepared and just like, hey, throw me the ball.
We're going to ease him into this. Right. No. That's not what's happening. What do you think? How do you think it goes?
I think early on, Michael Wilson is going to benefit from his just live reps that he's had with Kyler Murray. Remember how, and he explained this, just how their timing was off. And they were 0 for 8 on their last, targets and catches. Yeah. And then they were able to pick it back up after that catastrophic play in Philly where it was a pick 6, right?
Yeah.
And then, he's touchdown, he's 2-point conversion, and then he's having a big game in the finale against Seattle. And I think that they're on the same page, and we see video today, from whether it's over the weekend of Michael Wilson out there running routes with Kyler Murray, and that's not a knock on Marvin Harrison Jr. He even told me to my face in order for him to build that rapport with Kyler Murray, it's going to be reps and reps and reps, and that's going to happen. But I think early on, and especially with just the attention Marvin's going to command, the direct beneficiary is going to be, at least in the wide receiver room, Michael Wilson. And I agree with you with Trey McBride. Trey McBride is just going to continue because one of the mismatches, and then two, like defenses can't, emphasize Trey McBride anymore because they're going to get beat by Marvin Harrison or Michael Wilson on the outside.
I mean, the best version of this offense and this passing game has Marvin, Michael, Trey, all over 800 to 900 yards as a receiver. And then everything else is dispelled to backs, Greg Dortch, tight end, other tight ends. Like, if we fast forward to the end of the season, Trey's at about 900, Marvin's over 1,000, and Michael is over 1,000. I mean, Kyler Murray just had 4,500 yards pass. I mean, it's a huge year. It's a monster season.
So 11 doesn't make sense. Like QB 11 doesn't make sense with what he can do on his own with his legs, and then with what he has in the passing attack. Now, I did hear some fantasy football analysts talk about Trey McBride, and there's a fear that with the addition of Marvin Harrison Jr., that his production takes a bit of a hit.
It definitely could. I mean, do you remember those games last year where it was just like him or bust? Kyler hadn't had a rapport with Kyler at least played with Trey a little bit the year before. Not a ton. And it was a different offense, but he'd never played with Michael Wilson before. He'd played with Dortch, but I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. I hope not, but I also think I'm guilty of this too. Like the start that Michael Wilson got off to last year. I mean, he was on pace for 1,000 yards last year, and then he hit about a rookie wall from about late October onward. Like here's some of the games for Michael Wilson last year to begin the season. So 20 yards against Washington, ho-hum, 56 against the Giants, 86 against Dallas, 76 2 touchdowns against San Francisco, 18 against Cincinnati, had 62 yards against the Rams, 26 against Seattle, 58 against Baltimore. I mean, it was a slow evolution to the number one receiver. And then at the end of the year, he had a really nice finish. He had 95 yards, a career high against Seattle, and he had a touchdown against Philadelphia. Like, I said this to him tongue in cheek on our draft show. I'm like, why can't this be Jamar Chase, T. Higgins? It definitely can't. It absolutely can't. Everybody's telling you need to go sign, trade for T. Higgins or sign Tyler Boyd. They like their receiving core. I got asked over the weekend. Yeah. Like, everybody wants Greg Dortch to get touches. They drafted Michael Wilson to be a starter. Where would Tyler Boyd play? He's not coming here to be a backup. Like, I get it. People want depth. Their depth is coming from tight ends and backs because that's what the offense is going to funnel through. They're going to run 1 to 2 receiver sets. I know that's foreign to us here in the desert. That's not how the offense has operated for 20 years. Right. But it's a good thing because it keeps Kyler Murray upright. It keeps the game going north and south. Margin for error goes down dramatically. It's the offense that pushed around Philadelphia and Pittsburgh and Seattle at the end of the year. Give me more of that, just with better players.
Right. Better players, and it's second, it's third and manageable. And also a play caller and head coach that are going to be aggressive, and they're going to give you a chance on fourth down potentially, where you didn't have that same confidence, with the previous coaching staff. So, and that makes them dangerous. Like once they get into a certain position on the field, because Jonathan Gannon is going to have, going to want to go for it. I agree with Tommy. Wide receiver room is nice. Absolutely.
I love it.
And McBride, I mean, he was dealing with a lot early throughout last season. I mean,
he was hurt in training camp. Like, he missed some time, and
and then you have this team trying to pay respect to Ertz when he's coming off the ACL and letting him kind of dictate when he was coming back, and he came back for week 1, and it just wasn't himself.
Dropping passes. Can we be real? Like, he how many touchdowns does Zach Ertz drop? I love Zach Ertz. He's an all-timer. He's a borderline Hall of Famer. He was just not good with, like, Trey McBride should have been a starter way earlier than he started 12 games out of 17. What were they doing those other 5 weeks?
Yeah. Let's get into that MHJ offensive rookie of the year conversation.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
we are in a position now with Marvin Harrison Jr. where I think he is the favorite if no quarterback separates himself. Would you agree with that?
Say that again.
I think he's the favorite to win the honors if no QB separates himself.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, Caleb is in a really good position there in Chicago, no doubt about it. But then you look at the other guys like Drake May and Jaden Daniels, who I think I saw a report where the Commanders had him as their QB1 in the entire draft. Yeah. Bo Nix and Michael Penix. He's going to be holding the clipboard.
Can I just say too, I forgot Bo Nix had been drafted by the Broncos like today. When there was somebody on Twitter like, Bo Nix should get to wear 7 in Denver. I'm like, what? What happened? That's how I'm sorry, our DMV peeps, they're great. That's how irrelevant the Broncos are to me. Like they don't. Bo Nix to the Broncos is not tracking.
Wait, he should get to wear 7?
That's what somebody said.
Elway's number?
That's how they think they're going to break the Elway curse, is just to give somebody else 7.
That's blasphemous. First off, did he never even wear 7? Did he?
I thought he was 7.
He was 10. I mean, Bo Nix. Bo Nix, I don't think ever wore 7. He's like, hey.
I think they wanted the Elway juju to go to Bo Nix.
That's terrible.
They have a very different skill sets. I think John Elway has slightly stronger arm than Bo Nix. Bo, you can attest to that.
He's out there throwing grounders like a father to his son in the backyard at the Senior Bowl. But yeah, I mean, you got to keep the rest of the league from drafting him, Sean Payton. You really pulled that one. I was like Ocean's 11 as far as how just kind of the tricks you were pulling off.
It's Caleb though, is the biggest competitor.
Caleb, yeah, for sure. The other, like Malik Neighbors isn't going to be making an impact, whether it's Daniel Jones or Tommy DeVito throwing on the football or Drew Lock. No disrespect, Shane. And who else do we have? I mean, Brian Thomas, he's splitting time in Jacksonville, and
Rome is with Caleb. Yeah. So like Rome's not going to win it over Caleb on his own team.
Right. If Roma Dunze is in a position to win, that means Caleb Williams is going to win it. The quarterback always gets it. And then you got to look at like Keon Coleman, but I just don't think that he's immediately going to make is he going to consistently make an impact in Buffalo?
Like Marv's going to have to be undeniable to win this award. I think the Cardinals, fair or not, are going to have to be at least in postseason contention. I think they're going to have to be relevant. He's going to have to be making big time plays. When Puka Nacua had a historic year for a rookie, I mean, it took another historic year for a quarterback and CJ Stroud to get that team to the postseason. Like I think Caleb and Marvin are the favorites. Caleb's definitely the overall favorite, though. You have to give it to him. He's set up for success. If he throws for 4,000 yards and takes the Bears to the playoffs, I don't think it's going to matter what the other stats are. You check a box that hasn't been checked. You take a middling franchise to the postseason in that division. Like, I think as much as I would love offensive rookie of the year for Marvin, I think a bigger deal is like, I think Marvin can make the Pro Bowl this year. I think if Marvin has like 12, 13, Cardinal fans are going to vote for him. If he has 12, 1,300 yards this year, like Puka Nacua made the Pro Bowl this year. Like at the end of the day, like that's what I care about. Are you among the best of your peers? Because I can tell you right now, we're going to be looking. And no disrespect to Neighbors or Odunze, there's going to be a moment where we all look together collectively after Marvin puts together like a 3-touchdown performance on a football Sunday and be like, there were teams in the NFL and there were media that were saying that Malik Neighbors was wide receiver 1. And we're just going to be able to laugh at that. Like that, I'm not comparing Marvin to his rookie.
Remember the NFL.com thing about the power rankings? Like, inarguably, the top wide receiver in the draft was like, no, idiot.
Who's arguing that? You against the wall? Come on.
I'm looking at what Geno Smith did the last 2 seasons in Seattle, and I think that, with the talent level of Caleb Williams and Waldron going there, and of course what he's surrounded with in his rookie season, like Caleb Williams is going to be able to put up some numbers. Geno Smith put up 50 touchdowns the last 2 seasons. Waldron's got a lot to work with that offense. That's going to be tough to compete with in the rookie of the year competition, I guess you could call it.
Yeah, I think Marvin, what you have is it too early for stat predictions for Marvin Harrison Jr., Bo? Like if he plays 17 games, if Kyler Murray plays a full season, I mean, like, I think he's like minus 500 to hit 1,000 yards. And I think with his red zone prowess, would you be disappointed if he didn't have double-digit touchdowns this year? I know that's crazy to put on a rookie.
No, I wouldn't be disappointed. No.
Okay.
Because of the riches that Kyler Murray has in the red zone, whether it's pounding in with James Conner or Trey McBride, and I mean we saw how good Trey McBride could be in the red zone with competent play calling, and then Michael Wilson would emerge, and I think in the final couple games of the season last year, whether it was in the red zone or sticking with the 2-point conversion, like he's just another big body, so Kyler Murray's going to have the luxury of just whoever's got one-on-one, whoever's just open.
Yeah, the touchdowns are going to be interesting to see how they're delved out. But I fear we put so much. We in the media, we here locally, we put such high expectations. But Austin Ford really put it best when he called Harrison. Hey, you just got to get open, catch the ball, help us win, whatever that looks like, right? And there are going to be Sundays where he's not putting up huge numbers because this team's going to be running for 250 yards like they did last year. And I think, again, I'm okay with that. They have an identity and they exploited teams last year by using it. I want to get some of these super chats, but before I do, I want to tell you about my financial identity with my friends, our friends at Desert Financial Credit Union, the official credit union of the Arizona Cardinals, PHNX Sports, and the Venerable households. This weekend, I was scrambling. We had a babysitter come over. I didn't have any cash, but I did have Desert Financial Credit Union get my cash fast from an ATM, a multitude of locations here in the East Valley. But there's so much more. Look for Desert Financial Credit Union to help you out. Checkings accounts, savings, mortgages, loans, credit cards, investment options, and more. Plus, if you're an Arizona sports fan, I tell you, no better place to do your banking than Desert Financial Credit Union. It's the only place you can show your team spirit every time you make a purchase with the exclusive debit cards branded with your favorite teams, including the represented Red Sea Arizona Cardinal Visa debit card. Sign up today. Open up a free checking account online. Go to desertfinancial.com/CardinalsBow to get started. It takes a matter of minutes to get your checking account up and running. Debit card is going to be in the mail a couple days after the fact. Desert Financial Credit Union, helping providing financial solutions, Bo, that make lives better.
It's legit. You're going to proudly be throwing that down and to pick up the tab at any watering hole around the desert or wherever you may be. Soft, bouncy, natural as of this year. Delicious cannabis gummies, of course. Talking about our friends over at OG's. We're going to get a shout out here in just a little bit as well. I saw in the chat. You got to get in on Arizona's favorite cannabis kitchen, cooking up all the delicious gummies. As I said, they get those naturals, the OG's naturals that they just released at the beginning of 2024. They got the big OG's, right? They got the 10 perforated slices of the delicious sweet clementine flavor. How about you like the orange creamsicle, you big fruits or creams, whatever it may be. Figure out which gummy you like the best over at ogsbrands.com. Find them in your local dispensary. Try them out. Tell us what you think. Go to ogsbrands.com. Follow on your socials as well at ogsbrands. And you got to be 21 years or older. But we are always excited to be partnered up with our friends over at OG's Brands.
Love our OGs. Love our diehards. Go PHNX.com. Become a diehard. Pick up a free hat and or shirt every single year, Bo. You are a diehard, including the exclusive merchandise locker newest t-shirt. It's the Phoenix Cardinal t-shirt. We are fired up to bring you the first shirt of 2024 from this fine podcast. Check it out. Go PHNX.com. If you become a diehard right now today, you can pick up this shirt as an exclusive for free. Here are the benefits becoming a diehard. Before I get to that, let me show you the newest release here of the merchandise locker. You've got the bird, you've got a certain stadium, and you've got a certain state flag, all encompassing the three things I love, Bo, all encapsulated in this awesome new release right now, flying off the shelves at the merchandise locker. Become a diehard. Go PHNX.com. You get this free shirt or any of your choosing. If you want to pick a different beat, listen, I won't be offended. But again, get that diehard membership card, access to all the premium, emphasis on premium written content. Craig Morgan, ever heard of him? Jesse, Gerald, and more at GoPHNX.com. Plus, entrance to the battle royale that is the Discord lounge for PHNX Cardinals, as well as the other Discords for every fine program in here at PHNX Sports. But you got to become a diehard, Bo.
That's right. The deactivated shirts go hard for the Coyotes. I have to admit that. Yeah. So, but I do like, check a look at this. We've got our friends over at the Keep It in 100 golf tournament. It's going down later this week. You can still get in on the fun on Friday. Go out there and tee it up. Get your scramble on. Look at the delicious burritos we have. You got the golf ball cannon there. Just got great vibes all around the course as you hit the links with the crew here from PHNX Sports. Get in right now. Go phnx.com. Of course, you don't want to miss out on this. It's the second annual Keep It 100 Golf Classic. Our friends from Big Drive and Energy, our national golf podcast, and PHNX, we're presenting it. It's going down May 10th, the Scramble Dobson Ranch Golf Club. Don't miss out on it. We're excited. Everybody's going to be hanging out, enjoying some fun times on the links.
Yeah, grab your clubs, hit up the club. Randy, $5 super chat. What if Marv does something wild and rocks 43? Also, can you guys tell Adam to get back to work? Thanks, boys. I can't, Adam, get back to work, but also subscribe to PHNX Cardinals wherever you get your podcast. I think it would be cool. I mean,
is that our guy Adam H? Is that who he's talking about?
Yeah, maybe Adam Hogue. 43. I don't think receivers can wear the 40s, can they?
Yeah, I think you can now. As of 2023, receivers can wear anything from like 0 to 49, and then again from 80 to 89.
I can't deal with him looking like an H-back out there with a 40 number.
That'd be hilarious. That would be a great troll.
It would be.
For all us idiots who are putting so much stock in it, and he's like, I don't care. Just give me any number. Give me that jersey. And it's just someone like hanging on a top of a broomstick.
Marvin,
it's like,
you're like, oh yeah, he's a football guy. He's getting ready for the season. He cares about his brand and his image. Like the number matters. That's why we're on Numbers Gate, Jersey Watch, if you will. Yeah. No, we have not heard any updates as it relates to.
Oh, you want this? This is an old Ben Neiman jersey. It's not even like the current. It's not even the current jersey.
Got the piping on the side.
It's like, God, yeah, just put Harrison Jr. on the back. I'm just gonna go catch 1,400 yards worth of offense and 10 tutties.
I might care what I'm wearing. That happens. If he's out there running around at mini camp for rookies on Friday in 43, I might throw up in a bucket. Give me a show puke bucket if that happens. We have any updated guesses? Anybody in the chat want to guess what Marv's number is? We should do a show, previewing Marv's number this week, and let everybody kind of hedge their bet. We should BetMGM put some odds on this. I think 17's warming up on me. 81's an option, I think, absolutely. And number 2 are probably my 3 favorite. If he can't get 18 and 88, for me, it's 2, 17, and 81, Bo.
Okay. I think those are good guesses. Absolutely. I don't think 2's in play. I think Mac Wilson is a big fan of number 2. As I said, he seems to throw it in there in social media. You got Zan saying 19. You got Brett Jones at 22. Mars is saying 8 is his high school number. 8 was also his dad's collegiate number. It seems like 8 is a big number in the Harrison family.
Larry Wilson's in the Hall of Fame, and he's on a lot of people's Cardinal Mount Rushmore. He's an all-time great. So to me, that's I would try to get 18 before I try to get 8. I mean, Ojulari, I love BJ as a person. I think he's gonna be a good player. He has not accomplished enough in the NFL just to say like you can't have 18. 8's in the Hall of Fame.
Here's how 88. Here's how 17 works. 1 + 7 is 8. If you're an 8 guy, I think like I've been big on the 17 train.
It looks good. It's a receiver number that looks good.
It is.
Digital Dust saying Devontae Adams. That's his number. It does look good. Tweak 499. People have also been criticizing Ojulari for not giving up his number. Marvin can go get another number and create a legacy with that. Listen, we're not criticizing Ojulari. We said last week, like if Ojulari has personal ties to that number, which it's been reported it's an LSU thing, so who knows, then he should get to keep it for sure. But like, we're not going to sit here and say like the Cardinals benefit financially if BJ Ojulari gives Marvin 18. Like you can't tell me otherwise. That is a aesthetic from a collegiate player that's been the most popular player in college football for 2 years that then carries over to this franchise that, yes, is worth $3 or $4 billion, but is not in the top half of the NFL. 18 for Marv is like 11 for Larry Fitzgerald, and the Cardinals benefit from that. But I hope, listen, they're not putting pressure on BJ, but there's a reason we haven't heard yet because they're working on something behind the scenes potentially.
You think so? I mean, they don't have anybody's number as far as the rookies go. I mean,
Caleb Williams has his number.
Like, well, yeah, I know, but they're already doing things with the Bears. They've been out there on the field.
Oh, you mean from the Cardinals? Nobody else has their number?
Like we're going to get to talk to Max Melton, Tip Raymond, and Christian Jones on Thursday. I would bet we start to see numbers hit the roster. Because if you look now, there's nothing on the website. There's nothing in the back end of the website that I've seen They've got pound. They don't have any numbers with these rookies.
The Cardinals could sell Marvin's number and his jersey today, they would. If they could sell it the night of the draft, they would have. They haven't been able to yet. He doesn't have an agreement. He's dealing with Fanatics, but he also doesn't have a number. They would love to be able to put that live on their site and push it and push merch. You know they want to. We talked about it last week. There was nobody on the roster last year, respectfully, that you could say, that's a safe jersey for me to buy. Imagine for an NFL team. I don't have a player that I could buy that I feel like could be on even Buddha last year's requesting trade requests, right? So they would love to be able to push that. Their marketing team desperately wants to push that, but it's being held up by a couple factors now. It's a big deal. With respect to Darius Robinson and Max Melton, like those are secondary ass right now. It's about the 4th overall pick.
I think Melton's getting 16.
Yeah, that looks good.
He's on the roster as 16. And he's wearing 19 as they're working out. Maybe Melton's already got 16 worked out. Your Star Wars brethren, Max Melton.
That looks aesthetically 16 with him as an outside corner looks good. I think Darius Robinson, a number in the 90s would look pretty good. 97, 98, something like that. 95. That's a DT number that I think flashes.
Yeah. I mean, I think something cool like a 56 would be sweet too. I mean, I know Carlos Dansby wore it back in the day. Like didn't LT wear 56?
Yeah. Dansby's first number was 58. Yeah, then he did go to 56 with Arians. That's right. So yeah, we're on Numbers Gate, Jersey Gate, and we will let you know just as soon as we have something. Bo, you'll likely get something set to you from the team, correct? To your email that, hey, roster numbers are available. Is that usually how it goes? No?
I don't think so. I think it just could show up. Like I could just open up the roster that I have access to from the team and
refresh. You should just be refreshing it. We could know it could be up right now.
I think it could be like once the rookies start to put pen to paper, and I think that's going to start on their contracts. And I think it's going to start as early as Wednesday. Like they'll start giving guys roster or jerseys and jersey numbers.
Diego Perez, $5. I know Johnny can't wait to see that big tip on the field.
Is that true?
I'll make a prediction right now. I bet Tip looks good running around in shorts on Friday because he's a huge man. And he tested. You know what? If he doesn't, that's an indictment because he's supposed to be an athletic phenom. I think he's going to go out there and look good Friday. But Bo and I are going to be throwing him passes. I don't even know who they're going to get to throw balls to these. Can you
imagine? Bring him? Are they bringing in Tune? Right? It's got to be Tune, right?
You think Tune's going to come in and throw for these guys?
It has to. Who else is throwing passes?
Can't they get like undrafted players?
Yeah, they'll probably get somebody in like a workout.
Yeah. Bronny Venerable, $4.99. Oh my God, look at this avatar. Bronny, have y'all seen the video? $4.99. Thank you, Bronny. The video of Florio trying to defend himself after getting called out for hating on the Cardinals. He was so mad. It's Bronny, I'll be real with you. I have purged so much of his shit off of my timeline that it's been nice because it just falls on deaf ears. When he started talking about the Cardinals maybe losing a first rounder for the Michael Bidwell thing, like I tuned out because I would text people like it's not happening at all. So he's just kind of screaming into the void right now.
We'd have to seek out Florio or like take in his content in order to see that. But I'll definitely have to check that out.
We love Chris Sims though. Chris Sims is great.
Absolutely. D-Hops Prods. My dad knows Bo. Let me know who that is.
Joey, $1.99. DeMarcado, Gardeck, and Gaines won't make the team. He's predicting that right now.
Gardeck's gonna make the team.
Gardeck had a good draft week,
and I think Gaines has got a good chance of making the team with his versatility.
DeMarcado is gonna have to have a good camp, and you hate to say this, somebody might have to go down with a soft tissue or something like that. But DeMarcado could be a practice squad guy, so you never know. But he's worth keep. He's a good dude.
Yeah, and I think there's a chance he can make practice squad.
Topic 64, $4.99. Our defense has been elevated, better corners and a better D line. Absolutely. Stevie Wonder can see that. PFF is on that BS. They've gotten dramatically better by default. And the defense they were fielding last year, I know they gave up the second most amount of points. Gannon worked modern miracles with that defense. That was guys that were signed on 10-day contracts, that street free agents. This year, it's like these guys can stay healthy. I'm not saying they're going to be a top 15 unit. I think the defense will be a pleasant surprise where teams will look up and be like, how are the Cardinals competitive defensively this weekend? So, plus you have like B.J. Ojulari was behind the 8 ball last year. Garrett Williams had ACL surgery, didn't return since October. You have real tangible building blocks that you added in free agency and in the draft and early rounds that are going to play right away starting this Friday, that they're going to be able to mold. We were behind the 8 ball. They were behind the 8 ball defensively last year to begin the season. Like, it was known, like, this unit is going to be bad. That's why as difficult, Bo, as it was to watch them collapse and vomit all over themselves against the Giants. We sat there on that post game and we're like, yeah, I guess, look at the personnel. Wasn't good. Budda Baker not playing. Like, we understood it, right?
Right. Yeah, it was Budda went down late in that week with the hamstring, and he was eventually IR'd, and they just didn't have enough left in the tank. And they actually had a really brilliant first half that game and collapsed. Danny Dimes was able to march his team down 4 times and successfully hit pay dirt 4 times. And it was sickening. It was. But to your point, it was just like, this is going to happen. This is what happens when you're not up to par as far as, talent wise. And that's what you kind of had to do. You had to wear it in that rebuild year.
Oh no. Blow Brack is back here with a $4.99.
Told you. I alluded to it. Yeah. What's he got?
I just got kicked out of the Met Gala right now for offering Sydney Sweeney some OGs laced with Jake Plummer shrooms. That'll do it. That'll get you kicked out.
No.
I like this part. She says she's a big JV fan. Well, I'm a big fan of hers. I think she's a tremendous actress. But yeah, good luck to you. I hope that you're able to get off the street and find your way back into the Met Gala.
Next time, let's not try to lace anything with anything else. It's bad news. Unless you're trying to like lace peanut butter with jelly. I mean, that's the only thing you want to mess with. No illegal substances. And then D-Hop prods. Say hi to your dad for me. Chuck's a great guy.
Sports hero Johnny, do we keep Roy Lopez? They added him, and he's been with the team all offseason, and he's one of 2 true nose tackles that they have. My guess, and Bo, you give your opinion on this, they're going to keep every defensive lineman they have because they have so few, and they rotate, and they need them. So I think he's safe. They're not going to play a defensive lineman 70-80% of the snaps.
They're going to have, somebody's going to have to emerge to unseat, I guess, Roy Lopez. I think they love his motor. They obviously liked it coming over from Houston when he became available. And he was a guy that filled a role for them down the stretch of the season. And that's not going to be lost on this organization. Now, could somebody, when I say somebody has to emerge, somebody has to outplay him. And if somebody does, it's good problems for the Arizona Cardinals because, I think that they would upgrade potentially at the position. But, as far as like true noses, I think you got Karice Tunga and you've got Roy Lopez, and Tunga just seems to, like, when we're doing our defensive predictions, we had Tunga just because of his size. It's just pure size. So
he's a good player in Chicago. I think he's proven a little bit more. But don't you just I just trust them with defensive linemen? Like, play. They see it every day in practice. They know who's going to get the most. Like, that's why, Cardi's asking, what do you make of Cameron Thomas? He barely played last year on a defense that didn't have any players. I have real concerns about his longevity with the team, whether or not he's going to make it through camp, which sucks. The guy I think he just got engaged. He's a great person. He had a really good rookie year.
He's going to get an opportunity. I think he's going to just find a better scheme in the NFL.
He might go back with Vance Joseph in Denver. You never know.
Don't wish that on him. Don't do that. We want him to be successful.
But don't you see what I'm like? David played, and to us, it's like, where's the production? They love him. They love what he can bring. They feel like they can mold him. When you're not playing on a defense that has that little of talent, like there's a problem here. And it's not him, the player or the person. He gives the effort. Some guys just aren't meant to play in this scheme for Gannon and Rallis.
Now, so Rallis says, Darius is going to be primarily in the defensive line room. That's his position group. And they're going to lean into his versatility. But like when you think about when Gannon says they like to have 5 guys up on game day, there's one of them, right? And then Dante Stills is another one of them.
Jones.
Who else? Jones and Bilal Nichols. That's 4. That's 4 already. So one spot. LJ Collier. Is it Lopez? Is it Tonga?
Probably a true nose.
Yeah.
Dante Stills deserves every opportunity. And then they signed 2 defensive linemen. I mean, Collier was hurt last year. He's got a lot to prove, but it's just nice to have options, right? There were no options last year. It was scraping the bottom of the barrel. Cameron Thomas, the best thing for him is the fact that same with Gardeck and Dumacagian and these guys, like who's their competition? It's a 6th rounder out of Texas or a late 5th rounder out of Texas, and that's it. So you ought to be able to go in knowing the scheme and compete. And it's an indictment on you if you can't then log snaps and get pressures. Like if it's not now, you're never going to have a better chance, the best way I can put it, than this year right now. Because we know next year, loaded edge class, have an opportunity to add an edge rusher, a Grenard-esque player in free agency. You're going to have they're going to go spend money on that position. So if you can't compete in this group now, it's easily the weakest unit on the team. Easily.
Yeah. Bees wants me to ask about Cam Thomas and get what Rollis thinks. I don't know if Nick will be available this week since he was available last week, but I'm sure we'll get to talk to Gannon this week. And obviously he's got a hand in all things. I can ask an update on Cameron Thomas. I saw him in some of the team websites photos that of the guys working out with strength and conditioning the last couple of weeks. So he's obviously still putting in the work, and we'll see. They're going to give him an opportunity.
Super chat, Illa Dre, $1.99. I can see Garrett Williams being our number 2 corner. I think that's,
as far as what, production?
Yeah, like interceptions.
Yeah, I agree. I think he can be production wise. I think he can be your top corner, but I don't think he's going to play outside corner. I think he's going to stick in the slot.
Diego Perez, $5. With Michael Wilson's injury history, is it crazy for me to want the Cardinals to get another vet wide receiver? We talked a little bit about that, Diego. Here's our hesitation. My hesitation is I think, as much as fans may disagree, they view Zach Pascal as somebody that could substart for them and come in and help with run blocking. If they're down a receiver, their options are not, in their mind, let's go get another receiver. We're just going to run a lot of 12 personnel. We're going to run multiple tight end sets. We're going to put, they were down receivers at the end of last year against Philadelphia, and they put Elijah Higgins basically as a wide receiver. That's what they want to do. So it's Dortch and Michael Wilson's opportunity opposite Marvin. And outside, if they don't take advantage or they get hurt, God forbid, I don't think they're just going to up and insert another wideout. I think they're going to change a little bit about how they do their offense.
Right, how they do their offense. And then if they bring somebody in, that person that they bring in is the depth piece, right? Mm-hmm. Where I think somebody who's currently on the roster moves up the depth chart. So if Michael Wilson, if we're talking about the Z wide receiver position, Zay Weaver, Chris Moore, you've got Tajon Palmer. There are 3 guys that I think that they would turn to and say, hey, you're starting at this spot. And then, we'll bring in somebody off the street and they can practice in an emergency break glass in case of emergency situation, they can get in the game.
Gabriel Davis just got a monster deal from the Jacksonville Jaguars. He was pick 128 in the draft in 2020. You know what he did his first 2 years? 599 yards, 549 yards, a couple touchdowns. Who does that sound like? Michael Wilson. There's no, and Gabe Davis was the number 2 receiver to Stephon Diggs. There's no reason why Michael Wilson, and this, I'm sure they would tell you this, can't be the number 2 receiver to Marvin Harrison Jr. in an offense that has more play action, that will run the football more and give Michael more one-on-one. There's no cohesiveness to what Buffalo does offensively. Everybody knows that. So I Michael Wilson, as much as national people sleep on him, his biggest key, and he said this to us on set 2 weeks ago, is health. He's not worried about numbers or anything. If he plays and he's healthy, he will put up numbers. He put up 2 touchdowns against San Francisco, the defending NFC champion, easily in that game, high pointing the football with Joshua freaking Dobbs as his quarterback on this team last year. So Michael Wilson plays, let's just say he plays 15 games. It's a huge successful year for Michael.
Yeah, massive. Craig, what if we trade Cam to Denver for Sutton? I don't think they're going for a fringe roster type for their number 1 wide receiver, but I like the creativity. And I think the Cardinals, Sutton's locked in. I know you're probably Cortland Sutton, you're joking a little bit, got a little bit of a bigger deal. They want to see what these young guys are made of first.
Don't people want to see Greg Dortch get a bunch of targets this year? We're finally gonna see that. 2 years ago, it's let Greg Dortch cook, and then this past year, why is Rondell Moore? This is it. This is his time. He's always healthy. He's always open and available. Like, there's no better avenue for him to be productive than this year. And people are like, let's bring in street free agents. Let's sign Odell Beckham. It's like, I don't know. I watched Greg Dortch be awesome the last quarter of the season. I am content with this offense. It's good enough to be top 10. The defense, go sign some free agents. No issue with that.
What Ian's saying here, we need to stop all this Steve Keim thinking, draft and develop. And they've drafted and they've got the players in place. Now you just got to let them develop. And there's a lot of excitement around all the playmakers, all the skill position players. And let's just watch it play out. Like Ian's saying, let Michael Wilson cook, bro. So
also, those guys cost you no money. Like, as much as we want Greg to get paid, and he's making about $1 million this year, how much is Tyler Boyd going to cost you? I mean,
I think if you were to tell like a Gannon or somebody who's in a position of power for the Cardinals, and they're like, hey, I think you need to bring in Zay Jones. You'd be like, for what? Where's he going to play? Where's he going to play?
He's also not very good.
It's like you get like maybe that much better as I take my fingers and I try to squeeze them as close as possible. Like, is it that much better? And then you like these guys that have been going to like buying into your culture and your process, and you're just like, okay, we found somebody that much better. You're out of here, and here are all your snaps. We're giving it to him, to a guy that's never consistently performed at the NFL level.
There's a reason guys are available right now. They're either hurt or they're undervalued, or that like haven't played up to their expectations for other teams. Cardinals are in a good. They have a clean. This is as close to a clean slate as this franchise is going to get, guys. Like, Kyler Murray's making good money this year. Look at everybody else. They got expiring contracts on their book. James Conner's off the books this year. Budda Baker's off the books this year. Those are two players at non-premium positions that are approaching 30 that they're going to have to make a decision on. Everybody else, this is cheap labor. Marvin Harrison Jr. is making $8 million this year. Paris Johnson Jr. is your best offensive lineman, probably making no money. Like, this is how they want to operate. And then, you can splurge on a couple guys, but Trey McBride's making no money this year. He's one of the best tight ends in the NFL. That's how they want to operate. And then by the time Kyler Murray's up for another extension, like, you're going to have to make a decision, maybe figure something out. But like right now, this is the best financial situation they've been in 20 years, 30 years, probably, with this franchise. Usually they're overpaying guys that other teams don't want to sign. Like, I like JJ Watt, and I appreciate what he did here. It's just not a good contract for this team. Didn't work out, So you're paying him big money that last year to kind of be a spokesman on a bad team. Like, they want to find their own version of course, Watt on rookie deals and first extensions and defensive player of the years. Stop signing old guys. Get guys who if you don't, and that was the biggest indictment, not to get on a high horse with Keim. He could not draft and develop. So he had to rely on signing other people's used talent. I love D-Hop. We got about a year and a half of peak D-Hop, and that was about it.
Yeah.
Everybody now, it's like Austin Ford can identify, Dave Sears can identify talent. And so it's like, we're going to get Michael Wilson's peak years, Trey McBride's peak. Hell yeah. We never get that in Arizona.
Mm-hmm. It's a good time to get in right now on the Arizona Cardinals. They are trending in the right direction. We got a lot of great stuff coming your way this week. Thursday, we believe, is the schedule release day. And then what's following that? How about Marv makes his debut? This entire rookie class makes their practice debut. Plus, we'll have like absurd predictions for the schedule release come Friday. I mean, we're going to do it like crazy people on Thursday, but it's going to be a fun end of the week, and we got a lot of great stuff in between now and then. Make sure you like this video. Subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube, and wherever you listen to your podcast, leave a little 5-star rating. Leave a review. Just say that Johnny Venerable is a nice guy, and you love
that's great.
The dulcet tones of his voice, and you don't want to roast him like Tom Brady last night on Netflix.
It's great. It's some of the best content I've ever seen. It's just unbelievable. It makes the Patriots a hell of a lot more likable too.
Absolutely. Well, our guy Shane Dieffenbach crushed it behind the Mac. Do we have any super chats we need to get to before we get out of here?
I think we got them all. I think we got all the sweet baby super chats today.
Well, we're going to get out of here just a hair short of 6 o'clock today. Just a little short hour and a half, or just a 90-minute for everybody. Kick off your Monday. Isn't that fantastic? All right. We will talk to everybody, barring any breaking news, on Tuesday, right here on PHNX Sports, 4:30, PHNX Cardinals. See you.
We all silly like the mayor.